Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, alongside me, Marc Z, President Marc Z Legal Staffing. And also our guest for this segment is Amy Levine, Director of Programs and Volunteers at Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation and being here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization? It's I don't know if it's unique within, but certainly fascinating in terms of what it is that you all do. So why don't you tell our listeners a little about your organization?
Absolutely. We do a lot. So first of all, what's important to know, we are a not-for-profit organization that's dedicated to the Massachusetts legal community. So that includes judges, law school students, lawyers, other legal professionals. And so our main goal is to combat stigma for mental health and addiction issues. We also provide services on law office practice management. We do a lot of well-being programming. And so what we do essentially, our clinicians meet with somebody one-on-one, free and confidential service, and they will help assess and refer for needed treatment if that's what they need, or longer-term therapy. And then we also have law office practice advisors that will meet with typically solo practitioners or smaller firms to help them figure out winding down an office, starting up a practice, that type of thing. And then we also do a lot of educational programs, so webinars. And by the way, we have a webinar today, so hopefully people can join us on cognitive decline. So we also go into law firms and other organizations and do presentations. Well-being, coping with stress, just educating people about depression, anxiety.
So it sounds to me like you offer a range of services and specific to the legal community. Do you have any statistics? We all hear that, you know, with the pandemic and there's been a tremendous rise in I don't know if there's a rise or just a greater awareness of, anxiety, stress-related things, mental health in general. You talk about the stigma. Are you seeing, or does your organization have statistics that indeed that there has been a rise in those instances, or is it just a greater awareness of?
So great question. I don't have the specific statistics, but I will say there was a NORC study that just came out a year ago, and it does show that lawyers have a higher rate of alcohol misuse, depression, anxiety, burnout than the general population. And this study actually falls right in line with a number of other studies that have been done. So we do recognize that the law firm or the legal community is struggling.
So is it a function of the demands of the position? I mean, I know there's a lot of things that probably contribute to it, but I think lawyers are often viewed as stoic and capable of handling anything, right? That's why you go to a lawyer, and but many of us that don't practice don't recognize the amount of stress that comes with having to be on all the time and having to have the answers and solve people's problems.
You got it. You hit it right on the head, that lawyers are viewed as that problem solver. And so it is still in their mind, this is what I need to do. I need to solve other people's problems. And so that's a part of it. Lawyers do tend to be perfectionists. There's also sometimes on top of the stress, and if you're at a law firm and you have high billable hours and things like that, it's a long day. But also lawyers experience vicarious trauma. So depending on what area of law you are, the consequences of maybe losing a case can be very difficult. So for an example, if you're an immigration attorney and you're fighting for asylum for somebody and you don't win, and that person has to go back to their country where there's going to be great harm. So there's so much more to the stress of being a lawyer. And again, long hours, being a problem solver and perfectionist. And it can be a hard culture, right? Yeah, Mark, I know you're going to say something.
Oh, what I was going to say is, and just to piggyback on what John said, is that we're seeing a trend in our business, and you knew from your background that more and more lawyers are looking as in-house is the holy grail, or something even more so that. And what's interesting is a lot of people don't realize that in-house may not be the holy grail. Number one, a lot of startups have issues. Number two, the responsibility put on the person. It maybe not be the billable hours, but maybe just deliverables. Or number three, just in terms of being able to work well with a team, and decisions are made very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, because that is not necessarily the solution. I think that what you're doing is, with your program, because, for example, having been at one of your events, seeing how not only the people telling their stories, but being around people and people saying, "Oh yes, I use Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers, this program," or "They came back and helped me through this." There's a lot of people that are silently getting the help that they need, which is amazing, because, as you said, a lot of lawyers seem to the outside to have it all figured out.
Yeah, no, and Mark, I think you also hit the nail on the head, is that in-house lawyers have a high rate of burnout. They are dealing with fewer resources. Maybe they're the only attorney. There are areas of law that maybe they don't have as much experience in, and they're expected to know the answer right off the top of their head. So yeah, there is definitely a high rate of burnout. There was one study, I don't remember the exact numbers, of people wanting to leave the law entirely. I mean, this applies to other organizations, law firms, things like that. But in-house, when I was a legal recruiter, as Mark said, it was the holy grail. And it's not, I think with any job, there are certainly going to come its challenges. So yeah, in-house can be stressful as well.
Also, Amy, isn't your program, your organization, isn't that the go-to organization for the Boston Bar Association too?
Yeah, so we work with the Boston Bar Association, the Massachusetts Bar Association, all the affinity bar associations. So we do a lot of partnership with them. So our goal is to really promote, one is to reduce stigma, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is trying to get somebody to come to us because people are embarrassed or whatever the case is. So our goal, again, is to reduce stigma, get people to see us. And, it's really, I think, a great program. Again, we're providing education, we're promoting well-being. That's something that we're really looking for firms to do, is make room for self-care. And that's something that I think is overlooked, right? We don't think we need to do a good job. So maybe we're not sleeping well, we're not eating well, we're not taking the time, taking a break out of our day. And those things are important to our well-being. Studies, again, have shown that does help reduce anxiety and depression.
Amy, do you find that there's a generational divide, or at least any sort of divide in terms of people that are approaching your organization? Does it tend to skew one way or another, or are there any general themes that you see?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I think we see with the younger generation, people are more likely to talk about issues. People are more likely to reach out for help. So there is that divide. I do think sometimes with the older generation, right? It's, again, I can do it myself. And so that is a really interesting point. I mean, again, I think through fighting the stigma, we are trying to get every single population to reach out to us, but there is something about the younger population that feels more comfortable getting that help.
And is it, you talked about the desire to, connect with firms. Is it something that firms you find or your partner firms are orienting people towards, either in their, new hire orientation or as part of their HR, whether onboarding or ongoing counseling for people, making them aware of the resources that you provide?
Yeah, I mean, certainly when we go in, there are firms that invite us in just to share the services, promote the services. I think there are also some of the big firms that are offering yoga and mindfulness and having our clinicians go in for that. There is one firm, for example, that is actually allowing an attorney to go on vacation and get billable credit hours for that.
Right.
So that,
Sign me up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
right.
great.
Right. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. When I've been in the legal industry for over 25 years, and that's unheard of, right? Bill, bill, bill. But now I think there are people that are recognizing, firms recognizing the importance of taking time for themselves. So that there are a few firms doing that and allowing people to
Well, it's
have
a fascinating challenge that I think exists across any professional service firm, or industry, wherein somehow we're not viewed as human. You go on vacation, you need to maintain connections with your clients, and you need to be on call. Therefore,
Exactly.
are you really on vacation, or are you not on vacation?
Yeah.
And that's certainly a challenge I can imagine in the legal industry too.
I think that is right. Absolutely very common. And I think that's something that firms are trying to change and recognize that. Also, I just wanted to mention a lot of firms are also hiring directors of wellness. And so those programs are being put into place, recognizing something like mentoring. That is part of wellness, and having the mentor that is going to give somebody space to learn. And anyway, there's so many different components to it. So yeah, we are seeing organizations change.
Excellent, Amy.
It's great that you're part of the menu items that firms are giving. Used to be pro bono hours, used to be mindfulness, now a menu item. So that's wonderful, Amy.
Yeah, no, it is.
Amy, I would imagine that either individual practitioners and/or firms are welcome to reach out to you and avail themselves of your services and learn more about them. What's the best way for either or both of those to reach out to you?
So our website is lclma.org. I also will just want to mention that other states have lawyer assistance programs, but we are dedicated to Massachusetts. Our general phone number, 617-482-9600. That's the best way to reach out to us. And we certainly welcome, again, everything they fill out is confidential. And that's important. I just want to stress that they are bound by the rules of healthcare in that regard, and also legally. So I think that's a place where people have concerns that they're going to be reported somewhere, and that is not the case.
And Amy, given that you are a nonprofit and somewhere in your title it says volunteers, are there also a need for volunteers for your organization? And those folks, if people would like to volunteer as well, should reach out to you?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me directly, amy@lclma.org. And so we're always looking for people, one, who are willing to share their stories with mental health or alcohol misuse. We're always welcoming people who can help present on various topics to educate the legal community. So yeah, some great opportunities.
Excellent. Our guest has been Amy Levine, Director of Programs and Volunteers at Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers. It's been a real pleasure having you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And our thanks to Marc Z as well.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Amy, great having you on the show. I think this is an amazing service for lawyers, and it's getting more and more visibility, as you say, as the stigma is over and the bar is embracing it. So thank you for being on the show.
And I will do one more plug. If people want to sign up for our newsletter and just keep abreast of the various programs that we have, I think that would be great. Again, lclma.org and sign up.
Thank you.
Excellent. Amy Levine, thanks so much for being on Radio Entrepreneurs. And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.